Croome, the Deputy Fire Chief of Public Safety with Edmonton Fire Rescue. And on Monday we had a significant occurrence as far as application of the Alberta Fire Code goes. We were successful in laying charges against a company that
Bedbug Task Force?
Yeah. Okay, so we were successful in laying charges against the Bedbug Task Force, and this is a company that was alleged to have started the fire in July of 2011. Charges were laid under the Alberta Fire Code, and the outcome was a $10,000 fine. He's pled guilty to that charge. There were 4 charges, but the city solicitor, city litigator had decided that the one charge would be significant and make the point that we were trying to make with this particular company.
Obviously with 4 people, I think, seriously injured, you guys were taking this as a fairly serious matter?
Yeah, Edmonton Fire Rescue takes public safety very seriously, whether we're looking at managing the risks for the public or we're trying to protect the firefighters when they have to go into these buildings. We try to use every means available, and in this case it was the Alberta Fire Code that provided the vehicle for us to lay charges in this event.
Would this company would they have had to have had some sort of a license that they earned to be able to perform this kind of act where they're using, this propane tanks inside of a building with combustible materials?
Okay, so it's my understanding that in Edmonton, I'm not aware of any other companies that use that method. They use a more intrinsically safe method. This company was from outside of Edmonton. They were using a process that I think is maybe a little bit outdated. The Alberta Fire Code governs this sort of activity. If they were going to continue to use this method, there are practices that they could put in place to safeguard the residents while they're doing their work, but we had found in our investigation that that was not the case.
So it can't be standard practice, maybe not in Edmonton, but there are ways of doing it that makes it safe. Were they unsafe in the way they were practicing it?
Well, through the investigation and the ensuing fire, we had found that placement of the equipment and the actual process may not have met all of the requirements of the Alberta Fire Code. So the successful conviction would bear out that he did fail in at least one area to meet the intent of the Alberta Fire Code.
This was a $10,000 fine off a $3.5 million damages fire. In the fire, is there a discrepancy there? Is there a challenge there? And is getting companies to take this seriously?
Right.
From a $10,000 fine?
Okay. Historically in Edmonton anyways, charges as a result of a fire are generally not laid under the fire code. Generally speaking, like in the last 4 years, we've laid 25 charges. Primarily they've been overcrowding or blocked exits and that sort of thing. So that's where we're looking at how a building is being maintained and to protect the public. In this particular case, it was an actual process. So that the fire code has limits on what the fine structure can be. Whether it's proportionate to the dollar loss, that's I guess for everyone's own opinion. But in our opinion, that we feel that the province took the charges seriously. It's a significant fine for a small corporation, a small company in this case, and we think it's a strong message to industry that the fire service, while we're looking out for the public's best interest, that we will be looking at every means possible to ensure the public's safety.
If someone was looking to get bed bugs removed from their property, what sort of questions should they be asking companies about the methods they use?
I think the best practice there, and I'm sorry I'm not familiar with all of the different methods that there are, but there are some that are more intrinsically safe. You could ask them if they have met the requirements of the Alberta Fire Code. If they're not aware of what they are, then they should probably contact the local authority and ask those questions. But there are, they probably can answer the questions quite clearly for you that they have different safety features that they employ while they're performing that process.
Were the charges successful because this was a business? What if this had been a resident doing the same type of thing?
If it was a resident and you didn't actually have you know, your home is your kingdom, and you can do what you want in your home. So if I was doing this in my own place, I have the right to risk, and unfortunately, charges probably would not be pursued. But if, at any time, if you are putting someone else at risk, and the Alberta Fire Code would come to play, then we could pursue charges like that. Generally speaking, though, the Alberta Fire Code does not apply to the single family and the smaller dwellings. It's more the public spaces and larger residential or assembly places.
So that's why charges like this are uncommon then, eh?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, generally speaking, when we do have fires, whether it's arson or whatever the case would be, Edmonton Fire Rescue investigators would gather the information and provide that to the Edmonton Police Service arson detectives. And so generally speaking, fires resulting from, you know, I guess negligence or whatever the case may be, if it's determined to be criminal, then EPS would take on the file. So again, it is pretty unusual for the fire service to pursue this.
Do you remember last time I did it in a case like this? Fire service?
Actually, I'm not aware of any in recent history that fire code charges were laid as a result of the fire.
Can you comment on the severity of the injuries?
I can't, I'm sorry, other than they were significant injuries, and I'm not sure at what point of the recovery process the 4 people are.
If this is uncommon, is it something that we're going to start seeing more of? Is the fire department trying to send a stronger message to industry, and is this going to continue to happen if people are breaking fire code and starting fires?
Okay, thank you. Actually, it's a very good question, and you know, we're hoping that through this strong signal being sent to industry, that the fire service does take this very seriously. We will not tolerate you know, people putting people at risk unnecessarily. Through public education, that's another method that the fire service in general likes to employ. Instead of going with the enforcement, we'd rather educate and prevent this whole situation from occurring.
I'm wondering, is it essentially just that they were using these propane heaters and they hadn't cleared everything that would catch fire from the apartment? Is that essentially what happened here?
Okay, well, okay, the actual article in the fire code was if you're going to have an appliance with an open flame, you need to be a certain distance away from combustibles. And there were originally 4 different charges under the fire code. We found possibly 4 different other violations, but the one that the litigator felt we'd have most success with, and the panel that we did, that these investigators found the combustibles to be close to open flame and resulted in the ignition of the fire.
And also it said in there something about the way they were doing business also helped it spread more quickly. Help the fire spread more
Yeah, and
quickly.
again,
Same
that's
thing?
where, yeah, if you're not clearing combustibles away, and that goes with anybody. Any time you have an open flame, whether it's your backyard fire pit or your fireplace in your home, you should be maintaining a certain clearance to the combustible, whether it's a pile of wood, furniture. You gotta make sure that the minimum distances are being maintained.
If you're using this sort of system inside, what's not a combustible? I mean, drywall can burn, right? Carpets can burn, floors can burn, ceilings can burn.
Yep.
What's not a combustible?
Yeah,
I mean,
well, and that's correct. I mean, drywall is considered to be non-combustible, it's fire resistant, but I take your point. Generally speaking, though, in a process, and that's what we're talking about, this is a specific process with the intent of, you know, subjecting a room to extremely high heat to serve its purpose. So when you know that, and you have an appliance that is going to generate high heat, you need to keep items that are readily ignitable, so that combustibles, cloth or whatever, wood products, paper, you've got to keep those significant distance away so you're not going to transmit that heat and cause this fire.
Thank you. Yeah.